Palestinian people who depend on the sea. The soldiers on the ground who are implementing the strategy of destruction of infrastructure and killing of people in their thousands. Those who are far away from Gaza, who are piloting and controlling the drones that are inflicting slaughter on the Gazan people. Those who man the checkpoints to implement a strategy of starvation against the Palestinian people of Gaza. All of these people and their commanders are suspects in the commission of war crimes and crimes against humanity, individually. And it's only fair that they know that, and that they know that they can be held accountable. First and foremost, the Israeli authorities are responsible for ensuring accountability, but we know that they never do it. They announce inquiries whose results are never made public. There are no trials in almost all cases, and in the few cases where there are trials, the penalties are minimal and generally are not implemented. So we have to rely on international accountability under the principles of universal jurisdiction. That means the International Criminal Court, but it also means courts in individual states. This is a responsibility of third states, not just of the International Criminal Court. Our Commission's mandate includes accountability, and we are already sharing the information that we have collected about units and about individuals with proper judicial processes that have sought assistance from us. The International Criminal Court, we have said repeatedly, but also national courts exercising universal jurisdiction. And these requests are becoming more frequent. So it's only fair that all of those who are involved in any way in what has happened in Gaza since the 7th of October 2023 are aware of the fact that they can be held accountable anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Marks. Now we open the floor to questions. We'll start on the right there. Go ahead.
Thank you, Beyza Dönmez from Anadolu. I just wanted to thank you for this briefing first, and want to ask, as Chris said, the accountability is needed, and war crimes and crimes against humanity is committed constantly in Gaza. I wanted to ask, what is lacking exactly about the accountability part? Because we already have some ICC decisions, we already have some ICJ opinions, but we never seen Israel taking a step back. So what we are lacking and what should be done in that? And you also said, we know Israeli soldiers individually who committed those crimes. And I wanted to ask, will you take any of those facts and names to the international courts? Thank you.
International accountability is slow. That's a sad truth, but it is underway. You've mentioned the proceedings in the International Criminal Court, and as is generally known, the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants in relation to two Israeli leaders, the Prime Minister Netanyahu and the former Defence Minister Gallant. It may be that the International Criminal Court has issued other arrest warrants. We don't know, but it's slow. So far as universal jurisdiction in national courts are concerned, it requires the presence of the individual within the jurisdiction. And so we will see accountability occurring. We will see further investigations and prosecutions when courts are able to actually have the person before them and commence prosecutions. I won't go into our operational details. That's not appropriate. But I can say that we have received requests for information that we have, and we are cooperating with those requests in relation to properly established tribunals, courts and tribunals.
Yes, thank you. Isabel Sacco for Spanish news agency EFE. Firstly, you have said that one of the things that is most needed is international accountability. What is your sentiment in the context of the sanctions imposed by the US to members of ICC? How this accountability is threatened or challenged by by positions like this? And secondly, what from your point of view is the way out of this conflict in the context of the continuous support by various and most of Western countries, even if this support is less strong than a few months ago, but is still there? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me address your first question and say this is why we emphasize in our report yesterday, and I addressed the members of the Human Rights Council, all member states, emphasizing that they have a positive obligation to implement international law, and in this case for accountability to themselves, exercise universal declaration. Now, they may have many reasons why they haven't done so, but the reason would not be that they haven't seen any evidence. At least we're doing that work, and we will furnish evidence to whoever requests it. We've already done so, as Chris has said, and we have agreements, and we've been furnishing material to both the ICC and the ICJ. That's public, but as I said, we will disclose it. Some of the material may be protected. So that's the use of having a UN investigating mechanism, gathering evidence. And I know that that was done in Cambodia, for instance, where the people there waited more than 20 years to see the tribunal come up. But it did come up because the evidence was there and preserved. The demand for accountability, the thirst for justice in order to rebuild that nation was eventually fulfilled. I agree, 20 years is a long time to wait. But these are the everyday questions we are getting from our research and investigations of victims on the ground, mainly the Palestinians. And this is why I conveyed to the Human Rights Council yesterday that they established us, and after all, we are in the position of messengers taking the demands of ordinary people and victims back to the Human Rights Council to say there's a demand for justice and accountability. What the mechanism they set up here jointly is pretty good. That's the one aspect. And sorry, the second part of the question related to?
But still on this first question,
the first one,
is,
right.
What does it implies the conduct or behaviors of countries sanctioning members of an international jurisdictional body? This is one, if to complete your answer, please.
We were surprised and shocked too that sanctions have been imposed, for instance, against members of the judiciary, the ICC, who had given a judicial decision on indictments against those who violated international law in respect of Palestine. And I know that there was a huge reaction to that, condemning the sanctions, because it goes totally against the basic principle of international law of justice and accountability and cooperation by all states. Every state has an obligation not only to prevent genocide, for instance, but to act to protect civilians in these crises. So it is